Hello, Fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the show where we drink beer, invite on awesome guests from the film and literary industries, and debate each other on movies, books, and shows in the genre fiction categories. Tonight, said guest will be Josh Rountree, author of weird Western horror such as The Legend of Charlie Fish, or The Unkillable Frank Lightning, or a shitload of other short stories, or his newest book, which is, I'll let you tell him, Josh, because I'm drawing a blank right now, and thank you so much for being on the show.
That new novella is Summer in the House of the Departed, and thank you for letting me be on the show. I'm glad to be back.
Hell yeah, we're so glad to have you, man. I am not onto Charlie Fish yet, but I did read Unkillable, and it was fucking awesome. So excellent work. I love Frankenstein. I love Westerns, so it was everything you could hope for.
Oh, man, yeah. Thanks so much. That's rad.
It was indeed rad. Rad as fuck, I would even say.
Truly.
So yeah, thank you so much for being on the show, man. We're stoked to have you. Also on the show, fair people of YouTube, and the wider internet, we have our usual hosts. We have me, Clay Vermolum. I'm an author of horror and shit like that. We have Travis Vermolum, my brother. And we have Jeremy Hudson, who won't show up because they're not talking. So you won't see them because that's how you do it.
Don't even worry about it. We're barely here.
We'll show up when we want to show up, Clay.
Yeah.
Not a moment before.
This show's all about autonomy, and I'm not trying to take that away from you guys, except for right now. I am going to do just that because we're going to do our personal updates that we always do. And I'm going to start with you, Jeremy, then Travis, then I'll go, then Josh.
All right. Well, as some people may know, my wife loves Taylor Swift. And with the new album coming out, I have learned something I didn't know before, which is that apparently Travis Kelce has a legendary hog on him. So that's, I guess we could have assumed, but yeah, no, that's my update is we got that now. That's just something we all know.
I'll take things I didn't need to know for 600, Trebek.
That is things I need to know for like 1,500, bro.
You should know that. You need to know that, Travis.
I would be fine with knowing Jason did, because then the Eagles get a little cred, but the Chiefs, I don't want. No.
Genetics, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask further questions about this because it's going to go weird places.
Yeah, it is going to go weird places.
I think it's gone. I think it's already gone there.
It's already
and that's
there.
Fine,
Yeah.
We'll just join the mobs of people talking about this exact topic, and I'm glad we got in on the conversation. It's an important conversation to have, and I'm glad it made the album. Thanks for the update, Jeremy. Very personal. We know a lot more about you now and your wife. So, Travis, what are you up to, pal?
This weekend is my 1-year anniversary.
Hell yeah.
Sunday. So my craziness, it's a 3-day week at the school I work at. So we're leaving on Thursday and we're going to Missoula, Montana, where my buddy Dan and his girlfriend Ray live, and we get along really well with them. We're going to see Charles Wesley Godwin for any country fans out there. Pretty exciting. Big fan of Charles. And that'll be on Sunday, and then I have work on Monday. So we're going to leave a concert at like 10:30 p.m. and drive 2 hours home, fall asleep, and wake up and teach children in the morning. So we'll see how that goes, but it'll be worth it.
Sounds like an episode of Magic School Bus is happening.
I need Miss Frizzle. She can get places fast.
Yeah. Today, class, middle school philosophy students, we're going to learn about Sartre. Because I went to a concert last night.
Yep, I indulged.
I love it. And I hope that you translate over some good messages to your students, about both the joys and the dangers of drinking, just like our show strives to do, and just like Sinners that we talked about last week did, just like Josh Rountree is doing over here with his drink. We're all ready to rock. And speaking of being ready to rock, I'm pretty ready to rock this weekend. My personal update. My buddy Michael Shea, who's been my friend since high school, really good friend from Cupping, Montana. He went to college in Portland, so this isn't entirely his fault, but now he's really into fermenting and foraging and things like that. Out here where I live, we have an annual fungi festival because we have tons of mushrooms for the foraging. And he's coming out, and me, him, my wife, and a couple other friends are all going to this fungi festival. We're going to learn how to forage for like morels and stuff around where I live, which I'm very excited about.
Heck yeah.
Because I love mushrooms. Yeah, so that's me. I'm stoked to learn where I can get mushrooms that won't kill me, because those mushrooms that aren't just like, it is, Josh. It is important. Because those mushrooms that aren't just the bullshit white mushrooms from the store, there's so many delicious mushrooms out there, and they're good for you. I'm excited to get into it. But not nearly as excited as I am to get into this debate. So before we do that, Josh, can you tell our audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you write, what you have coming out? And then we'll get into it.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Josh. I like to write books and stories and stuff. I've been publishing short stories for about 20 years. Fantasy, horror, dark fantasy, science fiction, weird shit, just whatever kind of feels good at the time. My most recent books, as you mentioned, The Legend of Charlie Fish and Unkillable Frank Lightning, are kind of weird westerns from Tachyon. They live in the same universe, but they kind of stand alone. And my novella you mentioned, Summer in the House of the Departed, is sort of a West Texas haunted house story. A little bit about my grandmother, who was a ghost hunter in the late 70s, early 80s when I was a kid. So I used kind of some of those memories to fuel that. It's a lot of fun.
I hope that's
I
hope that's part of your two truths and a lie during Icebreakers, is that your grandmother was a ghost hunter.
That is a truth. So
I know. I'm just saying it might throw off. I feel like if I were in a circle with a random person and like, yeah, my grandma was a ghost hunter, I'd be like, that's the lie. That one right there.
Yeah, because you thought that I would think that there's no way that's true. And you know what? I don't think it is true. So,
because that's a baller fact. Your grandma sounds
Baller
like
fact.
a baller.
yep, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
shout out to Josh's ballin' ass grandma. And ghost hunters everywhere, Thanks for digging into the paranormal just the way we're about to dig into weapons here. That is our debate topic for the evening, because I don't think I told you that yet, but I did put it in the video link, so you should know. It's weapons, okay?
Weapons.
This new film, it is about a bunch of kids in one classroom that all go missing overnight. Their teacher walks in, and there's only one kid there out of her whole class. The rest have completely fallen off the face of the planet, seemingly. Nobody can find them. No one has any leads, including our teacher, but that doesn't stop the whole town from hating her and calling her a witch and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you have a whole lot of conflict. This movie's also really fun because it's told from the sort of vantage point angle. They rehashed the same timeline through a bunch of different perspectives. So it's an interesting way to tell a story. But did they do it well or not? That's not really up to us, is it, gentlemen? No, it's up to the dice gods to determine your sides. So what we're going to do now is we're going to roll those D20s. You have Travis representing Fermented Fiction, Josh Rountree representing him damn self. And we are going to see who rolls high and who rolls low. Low roll will attack weapons. High roll will defend it. Go ahead and roll.
I got a 2.
I got a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that I have to attack this badass movie?
Or
Yes.
maybe you hate it. But yeah,
maybe you hate it. Maybe that's what.
No, I'll go ahead and spoil this. I do not hate it. So, but yes, let's take the against side then, since I rolled low. So
the dice gods are cruel. They are cruel, malevolent.
I think last time I got
sometimes.
like this, I had to argue against my own interests. So I feel it. I'll make it happen.
All right.
We believe in you, Josh. And we are going to start that debate. Jeremy, you have our timer as usual. Count
Sure
us in.
All right. So yeah, let's be. I was gonna say fair, but don't need to. So just go at it. Have some fun out
So how
there.
much time do I have to?
We
You
have
have-
10 minutes together.
Yep.
Okay,
You two
so
have a total of 10 minutes that
And
you
we can-
share. Share
Okay,
lovingly.
so because I may want to rebut, you never
Yeah.
can tell.
Oh yeah, you'll want that. You'll want that for sure.
We'll leave some time.
Yeah. And that time is starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Since I am the positive side, I will begin us off. Weapons was I think global. Let me look at those numbers. Yeah, we can say global phenomenon. It made $115 million at the international box office. So definitely a global phenomenon of a horror film. Huge win for New Line Cinema. Had word of mouth out the wazoo. I kept hearing about this movie. I kept getting pressures. You have to go see Weapons. And I kept thinking, okay, there's something to this. And let me tell you, there was. Weapons is beautifully shot, masterfully directed, cleverly written, and has characters that are astoundingly entertaining and very, very flawed, but like also have pretty strong moral centers you can see throughout. I think Krieger is trying to say a lot, and he pulls off most of it. There's a couple symbols that maybe got lost in the sauce, but I think overall he definitely had a message about violence, about the abuse of children, about kind of trusting one another in like a familial unit that really come across in the script. But even if none of that played, the fact of the matter is this movie is just straight up entertaining. And that's a hard thing to pull off, is having deep messages with like a philosophical grounding, but it doesn't matter if the audience actually gets them, because the movie on its own is just entertaining enough. So it can play on the simple level where it's like, yeah, all these characters are going to make you jump, but also laugh and cry sometimes and be aghast at the horror, all of the emotions, the whole spectrum is going to happen. And at the same time, you're going to maybe walk away thinking about some stuff. And I think that's a brilliant film and a brilliant script from, believe it or not, a former member of the Whitest Kids You Know.
Okay, so this movie is terrible because it makes you sympathize for the townspeople and puts their interest over that of this loving witch who really wants to do nothing more than continue her long and wicked life. I mean, if you were the witch and all you had to do was basically entrap people, steal their souls, and, play with your little pointy stick tree and cast spells to keep living, I mean, why wouldn't you do it? This town deserves to have its children stolen. They show the exact kind of people that they are whenever, by their reactions to their children being stolen. Archer, the father of Matthew, who is a little fucking asshole, by the way, spends so much time railing on Miss Gandy when she has done nothing wrong in this. And it becomes evident that he's really shown by example his kid how to behave. And his kid is a bully who attacks our good little kid, Alex. And I just felt that this movie wanted us to sympathize for all these people. But again, much like the people of Hamlin, they deserve to have their children taken away by this Pied Piper figure, and they did. The witch is lovely. She gets a really bad rap in this. Who among us doesn't want to just hide out in our houses with the windows covered in newspaper? Because I'll take that right now. Like I really feel for her, just kind of sitting creepy in the woods, watching folks. This has police abuse. This has drug abuse. This town really needs someone like the witch to kind of roll in, take control, put everybody under her little spell, and just keep the trains running right, because that, I feel like her power really does come in and sort of save the day. But the filmmaker obviously didn't get that, because I feel like he the whole time was trying to make it seem like the witch was the bad guy in this, and I just couldn't take that.
I think you pay a great compliment to Amy Madigan for her performance as Gladys, but I don't know if the message of this film was to walk away saying that Hansel and Gretel were little a-holes and they should have been eaten by the Candy Witch. Bold take. I love it. I love it, Josh. I do think you pointed to one other part of this movie that I love, though, and that is how complex each of the characters are. Especially you talk about Archer, who I think personally for me, maybe it's just because of who I am, was the most justifiable in his actions. Like, if I would imagine if my son was just randomly disappeared from some classroom, I would also probably be like, I will tear apart the world to figure out where the hell this kid is. And yeah, I'm a little suspicious of the teacher that seemingly doesn't know anything, is also kind of an alcoholic. But I think every character in the show has like a side to them that is seen off screen that is a little different than the one that's like, I especially love Justine, and that's being around, this is going to sound terrible, being around education now and like knowing a lot of my friends who are teachers. It's like Justine's character is somewhat realistic sometimes, of like, teachers have a hard job and some of them like to pour the sauce on at the end of the night. I'm not saying I'm one. Please don't take that as me saying I'm one. But I think like sometimes they get seen as these angelic figures that have like no issues at all. And it's like, that's not, they're people. Like, they're human beings that have the same flaws and faults that everyone else does. And I really liked to see Justine has those hard ones. Some of them I'm like, that's terrible. Don't, cheat with someone. But it was great to see both the representation of that like angelic view we sometimes have of teachers alongside of this like, oh no, they're real people that also screw up all the time.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that because I tend to agree with you, but let's try that. Gosh, she defies her boss over and again. Mrs. Gandy basically spends the entire movie doing exactly what people are telling her not to do, and in doing so she ends up disturbing the friendly witch. Like, if she would have just left everybody alone, I think it would have worked out better for Gladys. And of course, that's really where my heart lies, is with poor Gladys and her plight. So next time, Mrs. Gandy, listen to the principal. Don't go sneaking around weird houses with doors that open up with black holes and all that type of thing. Just go and, make your booty calls, get drunk at the little bar there, break up people who are engaged, just keep keep on being you, Miss Gandy, because, you're a train wreck and we love you for it.
Remember, though, who is ultimately the one who kind of saves the day, even though he doesn't really mean to. It's the meth head. So yeah. even if Mrs. Gandy, is that her name? I forget.
Justine Gandy, I think.
Yeah, Justine. Even if Justine had like kept her P's and Q's and listened to her principal and just went and drowned her sorrows in vodka, I still think Mr. Meth Head would have like stumbled into that newspaper house and tried to steal the TV the same as usual and been like, what the hell? Why are these people staring at me from this couch?
I mean, who among us has never busted into a witch's house high on meth? And don't throw those stones.
Sorry. I didn't realize that I was attacking you personally when I mentioned the method. I'll refrain from ad hominem.
I don't know how else to like come down on this movie, because I kind of think it's amazing, but it's I think that's all the negativity I can hurl at this thing.
And I'm gonna say that's just proves my point right there. It's hard to speak negatively about this. Zach Krieger did a great thing, and you know what? I don't know if we've ever conceded our time before in a debate, but I'm willing to do that, Josh, for you. I I forfeit the rest of my time.
Yeah, I feel like this movie is
Damn.
so good that it's, other than making ridiculous arguments, it's hard to argue against it.
I love it. I think we're good.
Very well. An unprecedented 43 seconds left on the clock.
Oh,
We are out of here. But don't worry, we'll get into the weeds about this. There's negativity to be had yet.
oh, Jeremy the troll will bring it.
Jeremy.
No, I just have hot takes. I'm not trolling. I believe the things that I bring to the table. I'm not calling. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
The man's not even here. You know?
Let him.
That's
I
fine.
love how, Josh, I do have to say, before we get to drink of the week, I just love how your entire move was to gaslight the entire town against the witch. That was a choice.
Yeah, I wasn't I don't think I could argue the merits of it being a quality film. So, that's the only move I had at my disposal.
I mean,
Hey.
yeah, Hansel and Gretel did have it coming. So
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay, well, that was awesome. Unprecedented 49 seconds. I think we're setting a couple of records today. I think we also set a record for like 2 lowest rolls, like lowest total
Maybe because that
of
was.
6 total.
That's
Yeah,
definitely
you rolled
the
that 4 and you thought
lowest
you were going the
win.
other way.
I really did. I thought I was going to have to trash on this thing.
Yep. But it had to be you, Josh. It was always you.
It was always you.
Let's get to our drinks of the week, and then we'll get some fun facts. What's everybody got? You want to start, Josh? You held up your drink earlier. It looked pretty good.
I am drinking a weird little cocktail that is made with root beer and absinthe. I know that's an odd choice, but I got this bottle of absinthe from this brewery called As Above, So Below in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And the bar there served this drink called a Coven, and it was pretty damn good. So I brought this bottle home, and I made one of those drinks tonight.
Nice.
Excellent.
That sounds delicious. It also sounds like something that someone from your universe would drink.
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
start to hallucinate, let me know.
Okay.
We'll
Second
keep
time
our
we
eye
meet
out.
Josh Rountree. We'll see if we recognize what's really him.
Yeah.
It'll be a fun little game.
It'll be so good.
I'll go next. I've got this Buchanan's Deluxe. Because what happened the other day is my wife and I went to get scotch, and we did that at Walmart. So there was like 3 choices, and this one was reasonably priced. So I decided to try it. It was pretty good though. Yeah, I would recommend it.
Hey, listen. At least
Nice
your
smoky scotch.
Washington WalMarts have liquor. Ours don't.
That's true.
We just
That's
have
true. So I'm having that on rocks. Yeah. How about you, Jeremy? What do you got?
Well, viewers of the show may not yet know this, but this season I've decided to try something, which is when I don't like what we're covering, I'm going to bust out this old Kalila 12-year scotch, which has become my infinity bottle. So it's not that anymore. And, this is just what we're going to get into tonight.
All right.
And it's weird, it's smoky, and I'm going to add this gin to it later.
Excellent.
Because let's
Double
just
down.
do it, man.
Just start dumping it all together.
Yeah.
Just-
Is that
Like
what an
Justine.
infinity?
Justine would be proud.
Dude, yeah, that's the big gulp that Justine was slurping through while she was on her takeout. For sure, dude.
If I liked this movie a little more, it would just be like a gin and tonic.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Damn.
The
Okay.
big gulp, dude. That's a move because that's so
Just,
accurate.
yeah.
I was actually so mad. So last night I went and got KFC, and then I was like, I'm gonna keep my cup so that I can use it on the show.
Oh.
And I forgot and I threw it away because I cleaned today. Tragic.
dare you?
Yeah.
I know.
Tragic.
Travis, is your drink as tragic as mine?
I'm
Hopefully
drinking
not.
what Jeremy bought me as a gift for helping him move.
Aw.
Nika coffee malt whiskey from Japan.
Nice.
It's good shit.
Good shit.
Good shit.
That's good
Right on.
shit right there.
Excellent.
And I got facts, bro.
That's good shit too. What
Yeah.
are they?
I got facts. There are some really cool facts about this and two really sad ones. So do you want to start with the sad ones or end with the sad ones?
Give us a sandwich, you know? Sad,
Sad.
Yeah,
happy,
just
happy,
sandwich
happy,
it.
happy, sad.
Okay, we'll start with what I think is the most dark and sad one, but is incredibly interesting. Everyone, when the trailer came out, pretty much everyone I know was like, why are the kids running like Naruto?
Mhm.
Why are they doing the Naruto run? And I thought, I just assumed, oh yeah, it probably is the Naruto run. Nope. Zach Krieger was inspired by the 1972 photo taken in Vietnam titled "The Napalm Girl." And if you go look it up, it is a real dark photo. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
She's running in exactly that pose, and he did that on purpose. And so it's not Naruto; it's way worse.
Oh, that is grim.
Very grim, but also I think shows to what Krieger was really trying to do. I love he was inspired by Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners, which I can see the look is similar. Great movies, both. He doesn't outline his movies, or he hasn't outlined his first two. He kind of comes up with a concept and works through. He's isn't that called a pantser?
Pantser, yeah.
Yeah, he's a pantser, which I find interesting. It was the opposite of his Barbarian. He sent to a lot of studios, and most of them were rejecting him and not giving him the money that he wanted. This was the complete opposite. Because of the success of Barbarian, he basically got a blank check from New Line. Not a blank check, but he asked for a number and they gave him a little more. So he's definitely on the rise, and he'll continue on the rise, which we will see with the box office numbers. I found this really interesting because I recently watched this for the first time, and I see the similarities. Magnolia inspired the cop character, Alden Ehrenreich's character, is directly referencing John C. Reilly's character from Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia. And I see that for sure. There were some other really cool ones. Oh, the overseas titles are all the Hour of Evil, the Hour of Disappearance, the
217.
Yeah. So, this one I find hilarious. A lot of theaters as a gimmick put 217 as the showtime for the movie. And I find that hilarious because, yeah, good job, theaters, except the movie probably didn't start until 2:37 because movies start 25 minutes late these days. So great, but also I don't think it paid off in the way that you wanted it to. Let's see. There was a couple more. I just got to scroll. Gladys. Everyone loves Gladys. Loves to hate Gladys. Amy Madigan did a fantastic job. She was told she could pick one of two options to think about as her backstory for Gladys. And it doesn't tell you which one she picked, but Krieger told her she either was a normal person using dark magic to cure her disease, or a non-human creature using bizarre makeup and a wig to mimic humans. And my theory is that she used both and kind of just played it both ways. Because I think you can see both show up in that.
This is kind of like that two truths and a lie dilemma we were in earlier.
Right? Yeah,
I'm not sure which one to believe. I want to believe the makeup was very obvious, but
that was her trying to look, to pass healthier, maybe, or do you think she really was? Yeah, I mean, I think you may be right. It may be both of those.
Because there's definitely scenes where she seems alien, where she's moving in an alien way.
And the makeup is way more aggressive in certain scenes than it is in others. It feels like it's weird. My favorite Amy Madigan performance in Streets of Fire. Let's just get that on the record.
Yeah.
You mentioning like Zach Kreger being a pantser, and I am a pantser, so I'll take that. But that makes total sense to me watching Barbarian, because it definitely, on first blush, it could feel like, hey, this guy doesn't know what's happening from one place to the next. And I mean that in the best possible way, because it comes out in the film that way. You feel like he's sort of following that instinct, and he just keeps throwing in those oh shit moments as everything changes. And it certainly has that vibe to it. This one feels a lot, I mean, definitely it's got those twists and turns, but I feel like he had to Lego it together a little bit better, because all of these scenes, interface with one another so tightly that it at the end, it really, it's pretty killer how he brought it all together, I thought.
I agree. And my second to last fact before we sandwich with the other sad one, I think plays to that, as he still has a kind of chaotic scene in there that he has said in interviews, and this would have been one of my points against the movie, that there is no relevance to Archer's dream of an assault rifle appearing over a house. He's just like, that means nothing. I don't know if he's just pulling our leg, but if it truly means nothing, I think that's actually hilarious.
That's crazy that he said nothing, because obviously that's something that just jumps out as, oh, let's figure out how this, what this means, how it affects the theme. And it's like, either that's him going, oh, they've made the kids weapons, or that's, if you want to get, super nerdy about it, that's, parental anxiety over school shootings, basically. You've got this tragedy that happened to all these kids, and he's seeing assault rifles in the air. But if it means nothing, that's just ridiculous.
I think it goes to the, I read a book, what was it? How to Write Literature Like a Professor. And he had a really good quote in there that was like, when my students ask me, is this a symbol? I usually say, probably. They're like, well, what is it? And he's like, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it's not subtle. It's very much just like, pow, put right there, and with literally kind of like almost revolving and just sort of a suspended there in the middle of the dream. It's not subtle at all. So it's weird if it means nothing.
I don't think we've talked about like meaningless symbol before and debated if that can even be a thing. Because there's that whole idea that you publish something, you put something out there, it doesn't belong to you anymore. And that's true.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to just put a machine gun cloud in the movie, like out of nowhere, and be like, that didn't mean anything. Yeah, I did actually. Like, if you do that,
it's gonna mean something to
it will mean something
somebody
to everybody
by virtue of
that
it just being
a
there.
machine gun is doing Mufasa.
Yeah,
exactly. Is it saying remember who you are, or is it like watch out?
Yeah,
it's saying you are my son and the one true king.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get that from it.
It's a symbol.
It meant something.
I do think it's him trolling us in the interviews of people really want him to just answer the question. And he's like, no, it's kind of like Christopher Nolan for years would not tell people if the dream was over in Inception. And like, I think he finally did because he got berated so much, but it was like, yeah, you figure it out. Like I wrote it, I just shut up. Stop asking me that. I bet that's what the machine gun is. The last fact, and then we can hop in and kind of roll into this natural conversation here. And this is the last sad fact. I'm going to remove my hat and put it over my heart because Zach Kreger was allegedly inspired to write the screenplay after the sudden death of his best friend from Whitest Kids You Know, Trevor Moore, who passed away tragically not too long ago, which is really weird. And it is also weird to just go back and watch the Whitest Kids You Know videos and see like, oh, one of these guys is like a brilliant horror director now, and the other one like tragically passed away. But yeah, apparently the screenplay was kind of revolved around the violence of Trevor's death and how he felt after, this kind of feeling of being really jarred and messed up. So I don't know how true that is. Sometimes I think those facts on the trivia page aren't quite backed up, but you never know why a writer wrote something, but maybe it's in an interview. So either way, Whitest Kids You Know, Trevor Moore, rest in peace. That's what I got. Does anyone else have any other facts other than the box office, which I'll end with?
Now, I have something that is very much, well, there are facts in it. Okay. Because
Okay.
this movie, it made me do math. Like a lot of math.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
more than I
All movies do that, dude.
It's yeah. So come with me, everyone, as we fall down this rabbit hole ass first.
Okay.
And land someplace you probably didn't feel like going. Oh well. So I took the slightest issue with Josh Brolin being able to figure out where all the kids were going based on 2 videos. So I thought to myself, have the police see, they would have to, right? And they didn't think, well, they didn't try to search thing. And also, how many more of these are there? So I looked into it. Now, Wikipedia, of course, says this takes place in the fictional small town of Maybrook, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Now, based on the size of the school where, the kids disappear and everything, we can assume the population of the town being between 2,576 and roughly 49,000 people. I'm going to assume larger because it seems to be about the size of the place I'm currently living.
Nice tight window there.
Bozeman.
Yeah. Yes, Bozeman, just under 60,000 people. Yeah. But whatever. Let's keep going.
Okay.
Now, something we also apparently know as a society, we know that roughly 20% of households that have the internet also have video doorbells. So that's, something. Now, assuming the kids attending the school all live in homes that have internet, not an outrageous assumption, there should be 3 to 4 videos of kids running out of their homes into the dark. Great.
I think
We've got that.
I think there'd be more. This is the burbs. This is the burbs. They're all.
This is the
they all have
burbs. There could well be more. Hey, Travis.
Sorry.
We're all gonna get there. We're gonna get there. There could be more.
Okay.
Statistically, there is less. It's whatever. We can do better than this. Now, if we can estimate the number of total households in Maybrook to be between 970 on the low end based on our population estimates, and 18,477 on the upper end. That means that within this town, there would be anywhere from 194 to 3,695 video doorbells, any of which could have caught any number of kids Naruto running through the streets,
Not Naruto.
which Travis,
Sorry.
you're here? Let's bring it down here, all right? And we see that they do some of them just take off. I mean, they all do a straight line, but eventually almost all of them are on the street in a suburb for some amount of time, more and more as they get closer to the house. So, that also doesn't include security systems, CCTV that, presumably would have captured these kids running through town straight to where they were going. Now, the police don't know that they were all going in straight lines, but you know who would know? Police dogs who can smell where the children are going. And
she's a witch, Jeremy. It's magic.
Yes, she's a witch. She did it with magic. She magicked away all the children's cents, and she
Magic
scrubbed the
whale.
video footage from Ring's database because that's how she rolls.
I did have that same thought when when it finally showed the scene of all of them running up to the witch's house and she was waiting for them to come in. Like, surely there's some cameras that are like catching that mass of children coming up the street.
There's gotta be, right?
Yeah.
So, that's that's my facts.
But
Well,
again,
facts.
witches.
Witches.
She she broke a stick and she
Yeah, she
threw
did break a
something in the
stick.
blood and water, and it makes sense that way.
Yeah, let's assume that erases smells and stuff.
Mhm.
It's great.
Yeah,
We're
so
doing great.
I think Jeremy's fact there, the whole roundabout point of Jeremy's fact was that magic gets rid of smell. Thank you for teaching us that, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You're welcome.
Magic is math. Math is
I
magic.
think of myself as a teacher first.
Speaking of numbers, this movie smashed at the box office. One more time. I think this might be the last episode that I remind people of the industry standard, because I'm kind of getting sick of reminding people of the industry standard. It's 2.5 times your production budget. That's a successful film. This movie's production budget was $38 million. It made $266,669,000. So it made 7 times its production budget. Huge hit for the horror genre. New Line Cinema is sitting there cashing checks and pulling Krieger into meetings and being like, what are you making next? Because we're going to pay you. So we can definitely anticipate seeing another Zach Krieger picture whenever the hell he wants to make one, because he's definitely shown that he can have some really good success. To that point, I love this movie. I'm kind of going to skip my initial thoughts because I'm sure they'll come out in the questions and the discussions. So I just want to jump right to my first question, which always we start with Josh Rountree with our guest for the questions, and then we'll go to the panel. First question to you, Josh. I think one of the things I mentioned in my debate kind of topics was I think this movie balances very realistic characters well, and also gives them pretty decent motivations for why they act the way they act. There's definitely some that I think are pretty scummy. Like I don't think Justine walks away looking too great.
No.
But I understood quite a few of them. And I think that's a hard thing to pull off, is making your protagonists really relatable like that. I think it was especially super powerful, again, for me with Archer, because it's like, yeah, he's a bit abrasive and kind of a dick, and he definitely has his tunnel vision on this teacher, but his kid is gone. And like, you can't blame the man for mourning his child in the only way he knows how. So yeah, I guess from the writing standpoint, just can you speak to, I'm sure that's a tricky business, making those balanced, nuanced characters, and when you pull it off, like, how do you feel when you pull it off, if you feel like you do?
I mean, that's really what you're hoping for. And yeah, Archer, I think, is the one that I agree. He really stands out on this. Despite, my nonsense argument earlier. Yeah, if that was me, I would behave the same way. Your kid is missing. It seems absurd that all this happens in that one class and the teacher has no idea at all what caused it. And of course, the one kid in the class, they can't really get anything out of. But Archer, is really, he doesn't come off as the kind of character that you would normally root for, but you really get into his head as it goes further on, and you feel kind of how desperate he is. He's sleeping in, the kid's bed. You find out that his son was kind of the bully that bullied Alex, the main little kid. And I don't know if it was like overtly on the screen, but I feel like he was starting to come to grips with the fact that, especially when he sort of figured out that Justine really wasn't the bad guy, he starts to question kind of his motives and how he's, his behavior and what's caused some of these types of things. And he basically, transforms into kind of a hero at the end that you're really desperately rooting for. And of course, that makes it more heartbreaking when he gets to the end and he gets his kid back, but it's not his kid anymore. Like you know, I interpreted that ending at least as you know, she had already taken whatever she could from them to, you know, continue her de-aging or whatever, and the parents, at least it's confirmed, are left with shells, and the children, it doesn't really say that, but you kind of maybe at least assume that. But yeah, I think he was a really fascinating character. Justine Gandy, she was hard to root for, you know, and she's ostensibly the protagonist, but gosh, she just makes bad mistake after bad mistake, and I think she is well intentioned, but that doesn't take you a whole lot in this movie, right? So she, I think that you know, ultimately, I guess the thing she did leads them to a you know, a resolution, but it causes a lot of chaos along the way. Not the least of which the poor principal and his boyfriend that, you know, get embroiled in this because she just kind of keeps pushing with it. You know, I think as a character, though, I mean, her motivations are, you know, she's kind of fraught. She wants to figure it out. So I think all the characters rang really, really true and real in this, and you know, in that respect, it's the writing I thought was pretty amazing.
How do you approach that when you're writing characters and trying to make them dynamic and nuanced?
You know what? I like to, as far as just from a fiction writing perspective, for me, it's all about using other characters to define who that character is, like seeing who, what kind of person they are through other characters' eyes. You know, that comes off to me a lot better than just saying, you know, this character is this and this, but you know, how they treat you know, other people, and really using kind of interior monologue with other characters to sort of define how they feel about some of these other people. That for me works better than anything to kind of flesh them out and bring them alive on the page, for sure.
Nice. Jeremy?
Well, you know, I think, yeah, I mean, I obviously going to agree with Josh because, yeah, correct. Very good. On a mechanical sort of thing about it, like, I feel like one of the most important things a lot of the time is acknowledgement from the story that the people in it aren't like universally one thing. Like, I often point to The Secret Life of the American Teenager as the worst offender of this, where they pretend their protagonist is this really good person and have a lot of people in the story tell us that. No, she's the worst. She's probably evil. I don't know. But everyone keeps telling her she's a good person and a good mom, and I'm like, well, no. To that, it is really, there are really great characters in this movie, like Justine, who is basically the worst, except for when it comes to like trying to like be there for the kids and stuff. And Archer, who's, you know, he's rough around the edges and whatever because of everything going on, but also probably because he's a little bit of a dick, and that's probably why his kid's picking on other kids. You know, learned that from somewhere. Yeah, a little bit of that. But you see that, like, he's not going to keep being an asshole when Justine's about to be murdered by the mindless principal. So it's like, yeah, everybody is more than one thing.
Yeah,
it's great.
Clay.
Yeah, and like Josh said, the relationships between the characters are really awesome. They do a really good job of using the multiple perspectives to sort of flip our perception of a character too. Because we first see, you know, what's his name again? Brolin's character. You guys have said
Archer.
a lot of times.
Archer.
Thank you.
Archer, yeah.
We see Archer's character like from her perspective first, and it's still like really blurry, like we don't know who he is in the meeting. They actually blur out the whole audience, which I thought was a cool choice. But then we know immediately who he is as soon as like he stands up in that meeting, you know. And so now we've seen sort of Justine's version of things, which still doesn't paint her in a super favorable light. And what they do that's cool with her character in her first like vignette is I feel like they do everything that we're told as a society we should do, that she does, regarding the kid, right? I feel like she does everything we're kind of like think we would do, you know, like we'd all want to be the hero. But when you watch that as like someone who understands the education system, or like your wife who's a therapist, you're like, this lady needs to chill. Like you cannot be staking out students' houses. Like you cannot be doing that. Yeah, it's really unethical and weird. But she's like the only one who's like following this kid and trying to like figure out what's really going on, because she knows something super wrong is going on. So it's like what the hero should do, but he did a really good job of writing it so that it feels relatable, it feels real. This movie like had relatability and realism that was like off the charts. It was so you could see yourself in all the characters. They're really flawed, but also painted in like a, you know, a humanist light. I think everybody, despite like what they do in their moments of supreme desperation, which is what we kind of ultimately judge them all for, but they all show lots of virtue and stuff too. Especially our lovely witch, as Josh pointed out.
You know, the other thing that was pretty interesting, and like in sort of the juxtaposition of the two different scenes is like the first scene in the bar where what's his name? Paul, the cop. So when basically you don't know exactly what's going on or what's up with him, but he comes in and through Justine's perspective, he really comes off as like, oh, there's this stable rock that she's trying to like grab onto as she's drowning in her world, you know?
Yeah.
And then it goes to his perspective and it's like, oh, he's all messed up too. Like, you know, he has his own issues happening, and all of a sudden he seems like, you know, not a really stable person to be involved with as well. And so just seeing that shift from how she sees him to what he's actually like, I thought was pretty cool too.
I think there's really cool subtle stuff too of like when you rewatch it, they actually do interact differently. Like I think it's when it's her perspective, he walks in and like sits down and they talk for a bit and then stands up and they hug. From his perspective, it's like immediately they hug and then they sit down. So it's like this weird, which one's real?
Like they're for that unreliable narrator thing. And the fact that like, you know, in her scene, she's like sort of ribbing him, hey, you know, don't drink a Coke, just like have a drink with me, just one drink. And when you get to his scene and realize he's an alcoholic, you're like, oh, that's way sinister that she's like trying to get him to drink, because she has to know he's an alcoholic, like, you know, or at least that he, you know, has troubles with alcohol. And she's basically going, hey, go down this spiral with me, you know, and he's trying not to, but ultimately he does.
Yeah.
I did got to quickly, Jeremy, go on record as just saying, I agree. I think that part of Justine is not what I was referring to when I said she does everything the way you should.
Yeah.
You should definitely respect people's boundaries and not disregard them completely at every turn. Jeremy,
you were talking about the tracking down the kid and trying.
Yeah. On record.
Exactly. Yeah, but you know, I do really enjoy that they Pulp Fiction Hansel and Gretel, which is really cool. You get to watch through Justine's perspective and think like, wait, is he ruining that guy's life? And then you get to watch through Paul's perspective and be like, oh yeah, she super is. Oh my god.
But also so is he.
He's also doing that, but like
and then he kind of has that same thing with James, the drug addict guy. It's just like
I know.
all the relatability between the characters makes all of their individual lives more intense, especially when they collide. It's a really cool character work in the script.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
I think that's my kind of bleeds into my next question. A little comment I have of like little details always get me like really excited about a script or a movie or in this sense, even like a costume and set design. Because the fact that I'm going to keep coming back to Archer just because he's so good. And I think part of it's Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin's the best. But
That part is 85%.
that's 85%.
Josh Brolin's absolutely.
But the other part is like, I believe his job. I believe the way he dresses. I believe like the thermos he carries in the morning. Like I've met that guy. I even like told a guy I know, like, oh, I just watched this horror movie and like there's a dad in it that I think you would do exactly what that dad
He's
did.
very authentically that dude.
Yeah, he's that dude.
Yes.
It's very, very
100%.
good and reliable to know that the author either knows someone in their life that's like that, or at least did the research and took the time to make an authentic, like suburban dad that feels real. And the other thing, and this kind of bleeds into the question, is subtle touches, I think, can make such a big difference. And Krager uses them in a comedic way that I think is really brilliant. I even liked it in Barbarian, even though I didn't really like Barbarian. But he lets like him and Eggers both let real moments of humanity slip in that make you like laugh, but never lose the darkness. And I think like the dream, when Archer has the dream and he wakes up and his reaction is like, what the fuck?
So good. I love that. That's like the best use of what the fuck that I've seen in a movie. The most genuine use of it, maybe ever.
Yeah.
It's so genuine because it's like, yes, that's what you would fucking say if you woke up from that dream.
He's just trying to figure out what that machine gun is in the sky.
Exactly. It's nothing.
He'd be even angrier to learn it means absolutely nothing.
Absolutely not. But I think to my question, like those subtle moments are really beautiful, and there's a ton of them that are packed in here. A lot of them with Archer, like the fight where he keeps like kicking the guy's ass and then he just gets back up and attacks him again, and he's like, what the hell? I think those human parts to him really shine. And from the writer's perspective, like, is that something you think you accidentally fall into by writing authentic characters, or is that actually something you have to really intentionally try and design, making like super subtle, realistic moments come out of your people?
I feel like if the characters are good, that stuff comes naturally. I mean, that's certainly there's stuff like that you can plan, but I think more often than not when I'm writing, that just comes from character interactions, and it's one of the funnest things is just taking a couple of characters and putting them in a scene and see what happens when you don't know. Like I mentioned that I'm a pantser, and so there have been times where I'm riding along and I know that like a couple of chapters down the road or whatever, character A and character B are finally going to end up together, and I just can't wait to see exactly what happens. I don't know for sure, but I have a fairly good idea. And you just kind of put them in there and it becomes a little dialogue cage match or whatever. And I think those things kind of emerge from that, at least for me. I know there's more than one school of thought on that. A lot of people are very, plot heavy and outlining that type of thing. But I tend to sort of dive in and those things just come out of it.
Clay.
Yeah, like Josh was saying, I think that's part of the work. I think it's hard to invent, or I think it's hard to ahead of time invent that kind of thing. Like by the time you're inventing that sort of third or secondary level character development, you're just writing it, right? Like a lot of it happens in the dialogue. A lot of it happens
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of it happens in the interaction between characters. So like maybe you plotted everything excellently to sort of intersect at the right moments event wise. But I think that most conversations that are dialogue are probably like imagined pretty on the spot. And then the levels of like motivation and stuff, I don't know, even pantsers, they know their characters well. we let our characters lead us by the hand a little more, but we still know who they are, and that's still an important part of the work. And I think it all just emerges as a byproduct of like a well-developed, well-thought-out story that knows what it's about.
Yeah.
Well, those little subtle things like that'll pop up, and then bigger things like that's sort of this in my head, the same realm of thought as, you know, we all have those characters that just kind of appear in the story as maybe a minor character, then all of a sudden they're super cool and awesome and you want to know everything about them, and they become a bigger and bigger and bigger part of the story. Same kind of thing. They just, you know, they grow out of nothing and they're just there.
Yeah, or you can go the opposite direction where you name a POV character after your brother, and then you're like, I'm going to cut this whole character and kill him in the prologue.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do that sometime.
Wait, you're not speaking from experience, Clay.
I have no experience.
No experience. Jeremy.
Well, you know, I think everybody's right about the subtle moments of realism. They just kind of happen when you have characters just sort of being themselves in a scene, and this story does for sure have that. Like, I think maybe my favorite thing in this movie is Archer asks that lady to see the video from her Ring camera. She says no. So he waits until Justin Long gets home, asks him, and you just see her seething in the background.
That scene is so good.
Can we say that's a very Archer thing to do?
Yeah.
Such an Archer move. Oh my god.
I love that Krieger gave Justin Long a bit of a redemption character in this. Like, he's
so
not,
good.
like, because in Barbarian he's just like
God.
the scum of the
He's the
earth.
worst.
And now they're like, well, let's just make him in this like the kind of like
just-
spacey dad.
Yeah, just a dad. But you know, it's because of those kinds of moments in this movie that it does kind of let me down in other areas.
Oh.
And there's a certain scene which I think does this the worst in the movie, which is otherwise like a really great tense scene,
Jeremy,
which is the scene with the
Wait, can you hold that thought? Because we're right at 8:30 and we're implementing
Yes,
something
I was
new.
going to do the same thing.
I think we're going to take a 5-minute break, audience members, and we'll be back. Josh, please stick around. You know, bring maybe a refill. And when we come back, we're going to hear from Jeremy what scene let him down I almost said Barbarian, in Weapons. Be right back, people.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first of our new season, and I believe it's season 4. The show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome, creative guests.
If you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently, people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains, like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well. Yeah, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie, you know?
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
Everybody
exactly what he
freaking
made.
chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, in your assessment, what did you think of everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, like romantically? How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
It's our yellow.
Right.
Imagine discovering mummy remains and oh my god, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the fucking all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor, slaughtering it the entire time. Main character energy, top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him, everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's like very like hard-nosed at the beginning. And then like, I will say another pro of this movie is like their chemistry is hot. And like, I feel like if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been like, ugh. Because she says at one point, she's like, oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Like, fuck. And he's like, and then later when they like are like kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was like two lesser actors, I think it would have been like an eye roll, like felt cheesy, but like you feel their bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets. And I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was something greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending like, you know, Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because, I mean, it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to step up. You know?
Yeah. Dedicate
still-
that
yeah,
time.
settle
You're willing
twice.
to willing to dedicate that time.
You know, the time, the money, all of it.
Ah, that was so painful. It's one of those painful things.
Oh, that
I've
was
done in my
so good.
life.
That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible. Oh, did we do it? I think we did it.
Is everyone back?
Oh my
We are
god.
All right.
Welcome back, fermented folks, to the same episode you were watching just 5 minutes ago. And we have
Yeah.
some crazy stuff to talk about because right before we left, Jeremy was about to be the only one to criticize weapons. so
Excuse
far.
you. I'm remaining the only one to criticize weapons.
All
on
right.
this
All right. I love
show.
it. Jeremy,
Huh.
usually I front questions right to the guest first, but we're all curious. What was your problem with the fork scene?
Now, the fork scene, it started off incredible. I think we can all agree, you know?
Could
But
you
it
maybe
just-
describe for the audience? Maybe we spoil things here. Describe the
Yeah.
fork scene just a little bit. Like, give us what is the fork
Yeah.
scene?
Yeah. In your
Yeah.
own words.
Yeah, in my own words. Hey, everybody. And by everybody, I guess I mean Zeb. So the fork scene, we have, for backstory, the witch has, moved into the house. She has stolen the kid's parents, and the kid comes, to the table, and the witch, she wants to teach him a lesson. She, about, what happens if he doesn't keep his mouth shut while she's doing her witch crimes, which, fantastic. She does some crazy shit with a stick and a bowl of water, and the kid's parents start stabbing themselves in the face with forks, explaining the hitherto unexplained holes in their cheeks from earlier in the movie. Fantastic. He tries to stop it. He can't. They're just, he's got child arms, not strong enough. Can't do it. Is what it is. And the witch says to the kid, like, you get what this means, right? You get the implications of this. And the kid's just like, yep. Mm-hmm. And then she goes on to explain, like, I could make them hurt themselves, or I could make them eat each other. Like, you did not have. This is worse because you're explaining it. Like, I was worried before. Now I think you're an idiot. Maybe.
Yeah. Why bluff if you're just going to show your hand?
Yeah. Why why bother to let the imagination fill it in and then be like, actually, it's just these things. Like, well, that's okay.
I can
That's
see
pretty quantifiable, I
Is
guess.
that line though foreshadowing for the very last scene? Like,
maybe.
I
because
mean,
basically they eat her at the end. So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, but like,
True.
I'm not saying good
It's-
foreshadowing, but maybe that was the intent. I don't know.
yeah, I think if the option is foreshadow the ending by ruining a fantastic scene, or don't, I'd go with don't.
Roll the dice.
Yeah, I guess just
And
let's
roll
just flip
up
that
four.
coin. So
Did-
good.
I gotta chime in on this one. This is just
You
so
would.
far from a grievous offender of what you're talking about. Like there are scenes that I'm sure everyone could rattle off, but I'm not going to try to do right now that do that you're talking about. But I don't think that this scene does that at all. It's like, and if you have taught children, then you know, like you don't just take a kid at their word that they understand the implication of something you're implying. Like, especially if you're being super scary, the kid's not going to say no. The kid's going to be like, yeah, I get you.
Jeremy,
please don't kill me.
Do you know how many times in a day I say the words, does everyone understand? I get the nods, and then I have to be like, okay, explain it to me. And they're like, we don't get it.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's somewhere between 200 and too many times.
A lot.
I feel like when she's asking if he understands the implication, that's her first just like verbal contract of like, you're not going to fuck with me, right? We agree on that.
Yeah.
Now, let me just be very clear. If you do fuck with me, this is what happens.
But she opens with what happens. It's
that's true.
baby.
That's true. It's the believing in Santa Claus argument all over again.
Yeah, like he doesn't have to. Belief isn't a part of it. He knows that can just happen.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't have to be like,
That's
I
fair.
can make them hurt themselves. Like, I know.
I just
did like
He just did that.
7 seconds ago. Like what?
That's fair. That's fair. Josh, what do you?
I don't think it's as big, but yeah, Josh, what do you think?
It didn't bother me. Like, I mean, yeah, the repetition about hurt you, but I didn't mind the line about I can make them eat each other because, you know, that I think is just driving it home to him. Like you said, that you think a fork in the face is bad. You know, you haven't seen anything really.
But I mean, like, is that significantly worse? She might as well have just been like, I can make them kidnap a neighborhood dog. I can make them shit in a glass of milk.
I think
okay.
eating each other is worse than stabbing in the face with a fork. Yeah.
I think especially for a kid.
Yes, worse. But like that much, like they're stabbing themselves.
I think she's also just like, you know, she's taking joy in like fucking with him too. Like it's not just like she's making sure he understands. She's like joyfully poking at him and going, I could do this and I could do this. And just, you know, she's just a bad person and she's getting off on it.
Yeah, she's in it for the love of the game. Who doesn't love that?
I think this is a perfect tiptoe into my next question, which is the witch's powers are something that definitely caught my eye, especially like the first time I watched it in theaters. I was like, I kept kind of saying in my mind, like, don't give us more. And it didn't. And I think that was like a beautiful thing that it leaves. We don't know what this tree is. We don't know who the hell she is. We don't know where she comes from. We're told she's this family's aunt. They seem to think that, but like it could have been in possession already. There's a lot of unanswered questions that I think actually lend to the power of the horror elements, where it's like, I don't actually want to know what Gladys is. I want to just see what happens with her. And I don't know if you all agree. That's my first question. And my second question is like, as writers, when does it feel like the time to let off the gas on like telling your audience what's happening, sort of thing, if that makes sense?
I mean, I'm team ambiguous. I like to leave questions, especially like with endings to stories. I think, over explaining can kill things in a hurry, which is sort of what I think Jeremy was talking about with that last scene, So maybe we all want to say, yeah, Jeremy, you're right. But yeah, it's I think over explaining can really kill something. There was a little bit of, I don't know, I almost felt maybe some inconsistencies in her power. Like she always kind of did the same thing but got different results. So I don't know if it was her intent. It was fairly convenient that Alex was able to perform that spell at the end and get the exact desired result, as opposed to having, some other random, like, so he had to have figured out, oh, she's focusing her intention on these people, or, I don't know how he quite figured that out. So maybe a little bit of explanation there would have helped without necessarily, belaboring the witchcraft too much. And so, when you were asking the question a second ago, something else popped in my head. Like, it was sort of curious that there was no inkling that this aunt was a witch, right? Like, obviously they had a close enough relationship with her that they were going to take her into their house. So the mom had to have known this aunt for her whole life. And it wasn't like a subtle thing where, oh, wait, we've kind of figured out that she is this person, and so she has to do this. She basically just walked in and took over. So I don't know if that was just driven by her desperation of being at the end of a rope there, but it was weird that I maybe would have liked to know a little bit more about the background of that relationship.
You will, whether or not you see that as luckily or not. Zach Krieger has said there's a Gladys prequel in the makes.
Oh.
So
I don't know what to think about that. Like, I'm down for more Zach Krieger for sure.
Yeah, I love him. I trust him, but Gladys like, if anyone else would have said, "Oh, we're writing a Gladys prequel," I would have been like, "Don't."
Well, that could be the entire movie of over explaining, right?
Yeah. Jeremy,
Well,
Oh, I was going to say, though, there is a bit of room for optimism. There's been a couple horror franchises who have done that kind of thing well. And typically, if they keep the same kind of core team, they turn out okay. Like, Insidious and Conjuring both did pretty decent at, like, their spinoffs and stuff. So we have room for a slight bit of hope.
we even have there's a couple examples where the prequel is actually good, whereas the Ouija is terrible. Really bad movie. Ouija Origin of Evil
is fire, dude.
Which is a prequel, is like a fire movie.
The second one. The second one is so good. Origin of Evil. Yeah.
That movie is solid.
Or you can come at it from like a completely different vibe. Like, I love X, and then you have Pearl, which is such a wildly different vibe.
Just a different movie.
Yeah. So maybe that's the approach to go and make it successful.
I think people would buy that. Sorry, Jeremy.
Oh yeah. No, you're good. You're good. And I think, this all does kind of lend to it. Like, I don't know. I would wait to see reviews on a Gladys prequel because, like, especially when it comes to magical powers that are supposed to be scary, ambiguity is like a must. Mm-hmm. Now, where it stops being a must is when you have a mystery and you want the mystery to feel solved in like a satisfying way, which I don't think this movie did well. Now, we do learn what happened. Great. You know what we don't learn? What is the end game on, like, taking this family hostage and kidnapping an entire grade school class? Like, what is she getting out of this? Who knows? Like, a little bit, just something to make me not wonder about that, and then go on to wonder, where's all the shitting? Like, these people are held hostage for a month in a house that has probably 2 bathrooms. Like,
a lot of soup.
And does she have?
there's the
so
implication that
much
they
she wants to
just,
send one to the restroom. Like,
Maybe.
yeah, there's like this implication that they're just sort of standing still or sitting on that couch.
This
for
movie is
days.
actually a prequel to Human Centipede.
Look, there's
Oh,
there's
I was going to say it's actually a Pampers commercial.
it's
one
maybe-
star.
I
Should
don't
have
know.
explained the bathroom situation better.
Look, it's not a good sign of a movie if I walk away wondering, now where's all the shitting actually?
Jeremy, is that on the movie or is that on?
That's on the movie.
I think that's on
That-
you, pal. But I do feel you. Like I thought the same thing, and I was like, make him do that. Why not? You know, then the movie, like, you don't have to like show him like Jurassic Park, like elbows deep in it, you know. But you could just like, you can just give us a quick scene of him having to like shovel some human shit. And
You just
like,
have to have it. The scene where he's coming home with like the bag full of
he's got Pampers in there.
he's got like toilet paper in the the arm. Just a
Or
big
just show
mega
the
Costco
basement.
roll of it.
Or just show the basement ankle deep in human excrement.
Dude, you could
And
actually
them throwing out the couch at the end of the movie.
you could do some crazy cool Easter eggs with that. Like every time he goes to the store for soup, the first time he's got paper towels, the second time he's got like a shovel, the third time he's got like rubber gloves and shit and diapers, and he's just
And
like,
the next
yeah,
time he just has matches to burn the house down.
absolutely.
He goes to school and he's just tracking it in behind him as he walks in.
Smells real bad.
Audience has always
No,
had
magic gets rid
expectations.
of smells.
Yes.
That's true.
Maybe it gets rid of
That's
shit.
true. We did learn that earlier.
Maybe it gets rid of shit. But Clay,
I
I
think
feel
it
like
does.
you had an actual point before we went down the. No, okay, cool.
No, that was my point. I made like 5 actual points, bro. What are you
Yeah,
talking
Yeah,
about?
he's all over it. What are you
I know.
doing?
You had your hand raised on the initial question, and then we got into the excrement discussion. So I didn't know if we lost your hand raised, but
Shit happens.
this is nice.
Okay, bud.
So I'm now gonna do my pretentious question, which I'm sorry, everybody. I always think of one. The reason I have Beowulf back here is because it's like the only. I do have the Grimm's fairy tales somewhere, but I couldn't find one. I do think Krager, and this is more of a. Do you agree with me? I'd love to discuss this topic. I think Krager is very intentionally using a witch. I think he's writing kind of a modern Hansel and Gretel type fairy tale, because those were cautionary tales to children of the day about specific types of like moral fallings. Specifically, Hansel and Gretel shows like 2 poisonous mother figures. You have the mom who's at home, who's neglectful and abusive in that manner, and then you have the witch in the candy mansion who is like all consuming and wants the children to be part of her and won't ever let them go. And so that was like the way of that culture to tell like somewhere in the middle, that's where the child should be, of like not completely neglected, but not held on to too tightly. So I think Krager is doing something here with specifically the subject of like school shootings and with kids today, of like the outside force of someone who doesn't know your child as well as you might be a little more scary than you think. And also there's like dangers that you're not seeing. I don't know. Am I looking too far into that? Or do you think that is what he's doing with this witch analogy, is like trying to kind of bring us a twisted modern fairy tale? Josh first.
No, absolutely. I mean, like my initial thought was, finishing was it's Hansel and Gretel meets the Pied Piper, basically. And certainly he's trying to say something about school shootings. That's just inescapable. And that's why I think any whatever he said in an article, anything any suggestion that rifle in the sky means nothing is absolute bullshit. I mean, that is front and center at this entire place. Basically, that empty classroom and the one kid left alive in there, and the entire town trying to pick up the pieces of what happened in that school. I mean, it's it's horrifying, and that's the first thing that leaps to mind on that. And being, I don't know if we ever got a lot of the mother character that much, but certainly the kid is caught between the smothering of the witch and the smothering of the teacher. And I think that one and the other might be, I don't know if certainly the teacher's better than the witch, but I think neither one of them are very healthy for the kid. And he kindly points that out for us by literally painting witch on the side of her car. So
yeah. And I think, sorry, Clay, I think we do get this beauty of in between is that, like, we don't have many scenes with him, but when we get the kid's perspective, we get the dad.
Mhm.
And I think Krager was saying something there of like, if the dad would have done a few things different, if the dad would have put his foot down on a couple things, like none of this would have maybe happened. And like, there's this, it felt like he was telling me or speaking to that crisis we have in a lot of homes here, where it's like father figures and mother figures alike are like, you have to guide your child in some ways, like towards a right way. I don't know, that might be just my presuppositions, because that's very, very much something I'm passionate about as an educator. But I did think the dad character was, like you say, that balance between the two different smothering forces of this teacher who can't let it go and the witch character that literally is trying to consume you.
Yeah, and he almost did something, you could tell he wanted to kind of, he didn't like the aunt being there either, but he wasn't going to stand up and do anything about it.
Yeah, for me, this movie is a really good example of there's a new way to tell every story. And ultimately every story written by someone who really puts a good story in front of everybody is like a culmination of everything that's influenced them, their life experiences, and then what they become on the page through those lenses, right? So like, I don't think it's a retelling of any specific like fairy tale. I think you could also find traces of Red Riding Hood in there. You could find traces of Snow White in there. There's a bunch of really interesting combinations. I think it's a kind of an amalgamation. So a little more like Grimm's fairy tales for sure. But that's telling this story of like oppression, like almost like passive oppression that's put on little kids. I feel like Alex's story that one hit me pretty good, really, because like once you get to his perspective, it's like, man, this kid is just completely backed into a corner. Like he can do literally nothing. The only people who he had to support are like either possessed or like told by the police not to talk to him. Like he's screwed at every angle, because ironically, like his teacher would have probably been his best ally. That's somebody who would have believed him, but just because of the way things play out in the story and the way everybody else handles the situation, he never gets that opportunity. So I really think it was a story about that, like the way these things affect entire communities. And again, it was cool too, because one of the new twists on it for me. So if you're telling like a sort of fairy tale type narrative, which it did feel like a witch fairy tale, right? Putting in a unique spin on it, not like it's never been done, but showing it through the perspective of the villagers, not the witch, not the kid. Like we got to the witch and the kid at the end, but like we started the story from the perspective of the people who were experiencing it sort of peripherally, not exactly directly. They're experiencing the fallout directly, but like they didn't get hit by the bomb, And so like Alex is the only kid that's experiencing that. We don't get it till the end. And I thought that was a really cool story structure that kind of like reframed that fairy tale vibe that the movie had.
Yeah, and I think it lends to like some people were upset. I read some reviews where people were like, it's just a witch. And I was like, that's like the beauty of it to me, is that when you get to the end, you're like, oh, it's a witch. And like that makes so much sense. But like people were mad. They wanted it to be something like big and mysterious and like over the top. And I was like, no, man, like it was perfect that it was just a witch.
Also, like, how is a witch not mysterious and over the top?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Come on
I
now,
get
do we
having
have the
problems
same
with the movie.
definition?
I get having problems with the movie. I don't get having that problem with the movie.
hmm
But,
But you had your hand up before that, Jeremy. So
that's true. But yeah, I think there's a. If I were to take a message away from this, I think it's a message largely for parents about how like outside forces are going to influence your child if you haven't already taught your child what they need to know specifically for that. Like we see it with the kid. He is kind of backed into a corner in a situation that he is not prepared for, that frankly the parents should have been the ones to deal with. Oh well, but we also see it in like subtler ways with Archer's son, like just not being prepared to deal with other kids, and so being an asshole to other kids, even though Archer isn't that bad, you know. But because he hasn't been given the groundwork and everything, it's just a little thing.
yeah. Yep. Clay.
I wanted to ask a question of Josh, actually. So given the characters I've read of yours, you're definitely also one for taking that sort of humanist approach, showing flaws that still seem relatable and understandable to people, but are also like egregious. And I think that by tackling it through multiple perspectives, there's a lot of power to do that in this movie. But how do you balance that sort of relatability aspect with still needing the audience to empathize with your characters on some level? It's something I think this movie does really well, and that you did well in Frank Lightning. But like, you're showing us these people being really shitty people, but they're also like doing it in the most relatable way. Like even the cop, who's like probably the biggest asshole in the movie, we could debate that actually Justine is. But they both are, right? But both of them make understandable choices. Like, we haven't talked about the cop, but like, I think they do a really good job of cranking all his tension all the way up to 11 to make sure that those extreme reactions feel grounded and real. Like, we'd be like, yeah, well, what if you thought you just got AIDS and you blew up your relationship and you got back on the wagon, like all in the same day? How would you react when you saw?
Yeah, he has
homeboy
a reason to
AIDS
be at
the next
11 the
day?
whole time. Yeah,
And your wife's dad is the boss.
Yeah, and your wife's dad is the
yeah.
boss.
His job is basically, at peril now too, right? He's
Right.
pretty much blown up his whole life.
And talk
He's
about
screwed.
the subtle
you know,
scenes, like the scene where he walks back into the station and the dad's look is just like
Daggers, right? It's
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker.
like he's already
Yeah.
got the phone call. He already knows.
Oh yeah.
It's so good. Oh, although, I mentioned the Wikipedia article about this film before, but it referred to the cop as a hypochondriac. Like, I don't
No,
think so.
No.
I really don't. He's got.
I would freak out if I got stuck by the junkie's needle too.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got like good reasons to think like, well, I have hepatitis now, so
At
Here
least
we go.
hepatitis. Yeah, for sure.
minimum.
Yeah, if not multiple things. So my question though, Josh, was how do you approach that as a writer? And at what stage in the writing process do you start to approach this sort of thing with your characters, of where because you're a pantser, so maybe you don't do it up front, but I'd be interested to know where you do it, what edit or whatever, for the writers out there, where you start to try to round out those edges of like, this character still needs to be empathetic. This character still needs to be someone you ultimately root for, but at the same time, keep them really human, keep them flawed, and keep the tension high around their like interpersonal dynamics as much as the story proper.
Yeah, I mean, we all, do asshole things. We all, make mistakes, and so I think it's just about just making sure, obviously your characters aren't perfect, and depending on what you're going for, they can be a little messed up or a lot of messed up. I think it's just, if you want readers or watchers to still root for them, it's about not making them irredeemably bad. I mean, there's lines they can cross that, you may then have an interesting villain, but you don't have the hero if that's what you're going for, right? And so I think it's far more interesting to have really fucked up characters than people who have everything together. Like I'm really not interested in reading a hero that is, makes every decision correctly, never rubs anybody the wrong way. That's what makes the characters interesting, and for me, I'm always working on that as I go through. I don't, it's not about coming to like a certain point in the process. I think, I don't create my characters like outlines for them ahead of time, but they come alive pretty quickly. And it kind of comes back to that thing about, I have other characters in the story. What do they think of this person? Are they being pushed over the edge too far? And that's really, I just sort of triangulate the characters with it, and together, and they end up, they have to be in conflict with each other, so they can't all be happy, smiley all the time. So I think it's just trying to find that balance between, being what you want. Am I kind of rough around the edges? Am I a total asshole, or am I, wicked? And so, finding that in there is I think the secret sauce.
I think too, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, to me, it feels like setting has a lot, setting and kind of like genre, even though genre is like arbitrary, but the type of story you're telling seems to have a lot to do with that. Because I've been reading a lot for teaching. I've been reading a lot of like ancient, Greek stuff. I've been reading some of the early medieval stuff. And those characters are pretty black and white of like, Beowulf is going to be Beowulf. He's going to be doing his Beowulf thing. He's not really like, but that's not what the story and the setting are about. The story and the setting are like telling you what the Danish people thought about honor and courage and victory. And like Beowulf is just a sort of device used to show you those things. So I think like, I don't know what you think about that, where I think you're right that like very complex, nuanced, sometimes shitty characters are really compelling, especially in like a modern way of like bringing a setting to life. Like Weapons is a modern fairy tale, and this setting wouldn't have worked. This suburban setting wouldn't have worked without these characters being realistic. But like, I think about other stories that are more towards the fable end of things, that I'm like, if I got my hero who's supposed to be like basically a god, who's like also cheating on his wife, I would be kind of jarred, so I don't know how much that plays into it, or if that's just bias, or both.
It's just like the tenor of what you're trying to work, and if you're the setting comes into it, right? Like you said, if you're talking like old fables and fairy tales, they're probably going to veer closer to that hero side of things than kind of the more messed up side of things. But when you get into more contemporary fiction, I think it works out a little bit better when you see the stress that people are under. In this case, by contemporary, I mean last couple hundred years. Like you talk about the Unkillable Frank Lightning, like that was, the protagonist in that was super fun to write because she's really messed up. And I set out intentionally to build her that way because circumstances pretty much made her that way. Essentially, that book is a Frankenstein retelling in the Old West, and Dr. Catherine Colbridge is my Dr. Frankenstein character. And so basically she's a doctor and an occultist in the 1870s, and her husband is killed, and she brings him back to life with her magic and her skills, and it doesn't go well. And she spends the next several decades basically hating herself over it. And so when the story starts, it's the 1905, and she is finally deciding to try and dig herself out of this and do something about it. But she makes bad choices throughout. She knows that there's really no happy ending for her to find, but she's not like I said, irredeemably bad. She's just really messed up, and but in her action, she's trying to help other people succeed in whatever they're trying to do, even though she knows that she can't. So I think it's just trying to figure out. You mentioned the setting. How is that setting affecting this character? What's it doing to mess them up, and what are they doing to overcome it? And can they? So it's just that's what's so endlessly fun to me is just finding ways to sort of break these characters and see if they can put themselves back together again.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Well, yeah. Well, and I think to the point you made that people have been making about the fables and fairy tales and even older stories and whatever, like you do have heroes with like heroic flaws. Like the thing that makes them a hero is going to like get them into trouble and stuff, because that's something that just kind of makes sense. It's why, like, if you ever watched the Justice League cartoon, Superman is being Superman the whole time, and he's a great guy, but he has issues trusting his teammates and stuff like that, because he's so concerned for their safety, because he knows he's indestructible. He's being a good guy, but also a dick about it. And it makes sense. Like, if you think about when you, as a person, make shitty choices, which, hey, I think we all probably do, you have reasons that make sense and explain why you made said shitty choices.
Yeah.
And you can do that with characters. Like, you have to be able to explain it without like automatically excusing what they're doing. Like, it just has to make sense. Like, you get why they did that. So you don't do this thing of like, what?
Clay?
I agree with that.
Hey.
I was going back to the setting thing too. I think setting can get kind of lost in the sauce when it comes to horror that takes place in a really contemporary setting. But that was a very intentional setting choice. Sometimes setting can still have a massive influence on a story, even if it didn't take a whole bunch of development, because there's sort of an assumed understanding from the audience when it's told from a super contemporary lens. And in that way, it works either way, right? Whether you're approaching suburbia from an interior or exterior perspective, like, your perception of suburbia works for this movie, regardless of whether you like it, hate it, are from in it or out it, and any combination of the four. Like, this movie's scary, and the suburbia plays a role in that. That it's happening in middle America. Now it's a tragedy, as Eminem might have said.
He takes the suburb and he sets it in the woods too. So when you're looking
totally.
at the fairy tale aspect, like, you get the vibe that even the neighborhood where the witch's house is, there's huge trees, like it's very forested in there. And then there are those scenes like with James, the drug addict, where he basically lives in his tent, sort of in the woods. And so that is just one of many things that just sort of really feeds into that fairy tale vibe. And that scene where he goes in the woods and like fleetingly sees the witch just kind of hanging out there in the background is one of the creepiest things I've seen in a long time. Like, just sees her and he's like, nope, fuck that. He just turns around and goes. And even the camera, you don't see it very much, but it's just kind of like, oh, that's awful. I don't want to see that again. And then, he goes back to his tent, and there's that tent scene of like somebody coming up and starting to unzip it, and you're thinking that witch is there. All that worked really well, and just that woodland setting added to the creepy factor.
That one
and a good, like, the establishment of the city was so effective there, because the cop was able to find his tent like immediately.
Yeah. So it's gotta be like right. It's probably behind the liquor store, right?
Yeah, it's like a 1 acre
central
park
hub of the town. There's a bar and a liquor store and a school, and that's like the whole of the police station. It's got to be like right there. But yeah, you feel like he's way out in the woods.
It's like
That one-
BNSF land. It's like the railroads land.
Yeah.
Going through down there.
That scene and the scene where you mentioned it earlier, someone did, where like I think we were talking about why didn't the Ring cameras capture it? And it's like when the kids are running in, and it's just the face off between the witch and what's the child's name? I got
Alex.
Like the face off between him as they like run by. I was just like goosebumps. But to
That's
the
so
setting
good.
point, I think like I lived in Philadelphia suburbia for 2 years when I went to Nova, and like they did the research on that, so the little details of like the type of brick house that they had found and the type of moss that was, I was like, this is very, very intentional. And I love that you mentioned the forest. That was like such a huge thing. And I had another point and I lost it in my brain because that happens. But I do have one final question for you, Josh, and that is regarding side characters, because I would be remiss if we ended this episode without mentioning how good Benedict Wong does. Like he's so good.
Absolutely slays
And
it.
He's just
Yeah.
like
Mark-
the exasperated, like, I can't believe she's calling me again on the weekend. I'm trying to do my grocery shopping.
Yeah.
You gonna let this go? I've got this shit handled. Just want to have my, go and have my lunch with my matching shirt with my boyfriend
Yep.
and do my thing. And he gets sucked right into the witch's trap completely because of Justine.
And then he has to play the like
And the
Superman,
generosity of his boyfriend, I will say, because
Yeah,
he was totally
yeah.
like, no.
He was not gonna let
You
her. He's
cannot
already
come
at that
in.
point. He's got the
Yeah.
vibe. Like, I don't want this person in my house. Probably, she's a little weird, and the boyfriend's like, no, come on, let's get her a drink of water.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. His acting just going from that to like the crazy eyed, just like attack thing that he became or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, and then I remembered my other point, which kind of ties into this, and that's like any other time, like they would have had to adjust a lot of things about this movie set in any other time, because I had a little tiny problem that I like actually logicked myself out of, where I was like, neighbors, man, like why is no one reporting these kids of neighbors? And I'm like, in the age of technology, neighbors matter a lot less than they used to. Like we're not really keeping tabs on each other as much as we used to. We're kind of in our own little like screen worlds, and there's a lot to say about that. But for the movie, it works, because as soon as I had that thought, I was like,
Did we get an explanation on like what happened when mom and dad weren't going to work anymore? Did like did they assume that
Not
like
even a little.
Yeah.
I would assume it's the
there
aunt
is
doing the
kind
whole
of-
like, they're sick thing, like because she does that with the
There is kind of that explanation, like when they go to the police, the witch is just like, oh, he's suffered a stroke, so
Yeah.
I will be speaking for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if she called in sick for them or what. I don't.
But I do think like
Magic.
the lack of investigation does make more sense in 2025 than it ever would have in like if this movie were set in the 80s or 90s. I wouldn't have believed that for a second, that the neighbors weren't like the next day being like, hey, kids disappeared, did you hear about that? I think that would have happened in different ages. But
I do like how when like the cops come to check the house out, she just like sends all the kids like flying over the back fence out into the woods and then brings them all back to the basement. Maybe that's how they go to the bathroom.
There you go.
There it is.
Yeah, there's just a big heap of shit in just
In the
past the
woods.
backyard.
Alex, go dig a trench.
Next to the crackheads tent.
He can't win.
He can't win.
James cannot win.
No.
Nah, bro.
My final writing question, though, is about those side characters, because I'm sure that's a difficult task, because what we have probably 4, maybe you can argue 5 primary characters in this movie, because James does get his own perspective.
Oh, yeah.
But it's definitely like Justine, Alex, Archer, and Paul.
Marcus gets his own perspective too. It's short, but it's the scene where the witch gets him basically. I mean, he's got his little yeah.
But definitely like the camera focus is most on Justine, Alex, Archer, and Paul. But beyond them, we have such a compelling cast of people who get their tiny little spotlight. And I think for film, that's really compelling. And I think for books, that also is amazing when I know an author has given care to every character, even the ones that are maybe on a page or two. And what goes into that? Do you think it was good in this movie? And one question I really like asking everybody is, can you name a movie that you think does it super well, that isn't weapons, uses their side characters, or book?
Yeah. So I love those little minor characters in books, and you can come at it a few ways. Like, you don't have to dig too deep into them to still make them effective, but there are people who do that well. Like, Stephen King is known for that, obviously. Like, you'll have a page about this minor character, and you just know who that person is by the time you're through, and then they're out the door and on again. I don't think it's necessary always to go into that kind of detail, but that's where you can kind of have fun with those weird little quirky characters as well, that add that color and that perspective to it. The one in this one that just that I feel so bad for is Donna, who's the girlfriend to the cop. Like, she's just doing her thing, and another victim of Justine and Paul just like wrecking the world around them everywhere. She has to kind of deal with that, but she does have her father who can give that little dirty look to him. But I felt kind of bad for her in this. A movie that does that well, and I will always talk at length about Raising Arizona. It's one of my favorite movies, and it's just absolutely chock full of weirdos beyond the main 3 or 4 characters. It's just some of the funniest, strangest little characters. That type of side character are my favorites, where they're just kind of bizarre and strange, and you're not sure what's happening with them, but they're funny and you like them. So
Jeremy?
Oh yeah. Well, it's something that like really helps with the world building is when you include some side characters doing their own thing alongside whatever the main characters are doing. Like, some of my favorite examples of this are like in Airplane, where like you sell the absurdity by having like anybody doing just the most bananas ass shit that you've ever even thought of, just as a throwaway gag, because that's the world you're in. But my favorite comes from, I believe, Life, the Universe, and Everything, when my favorite side characters of all time are these sports announcers who have this entire conversation about the 2 men and the sofa that just materialized on the game field, causing a delay. And they just have their own shit about it, and it just lends to that type of the world that's being set before you in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. And it fits so well for what like humans are supposed to be, and their whole background that we've all just learned from them at that point. And yeah, it's just wonderful. It adds something without taking anything away. It's great.
And to that, but like to tie it to weapons, like I feel like sometimes that might be an announcer's reaction, is just to keep announcing. Just like Josh Brolin's reaction after the dream is like, what the fuck? Like, that is such a real moment where it's like, that is exactly how I would think about that dream. And I mean, you get those wild ones where you're like, I don't know how to act right now, because this is something like nothing has prepared me for this moment.
But yeah, and in a moment like that in the Hitchhiker's Guide, you're so accustomed as an audience member to the utterly absurd that you're like, oh, this is actually relatable, and it kind of sucks you back into the story too, which is a cool effect. I agree with Jeremy too. I think it's all about, so much of the side characters is like to me, they sort of reflect the world too. They reflect the building of the story as a whole too, kind of back at the character, give you that different look at their actions and stuff. I think Shrek is a good example, honestly. I was trying to think of movies, and that's the one that ultimately popped up. But Shrek, like, it's such a fleshed out world, and you get so much like unreasonably like strong connections to a lot of different side characters, and there's a lot of jokes that hint at like some darker subject matter, like I've talked before about the mama bear being Lord Farquaad's rug is so brutal, dude. And you see like the little baby bear crying like in the next scene. It's so brutal. And there's like a lot of layers of that, like the Duloc song. I can still sing that thing because it's an absolute banger. And I do think that like strong side characters, that is also a purpose they accomplish that hasn't been maybe mentioned yet, is just reflecting that world back.
I think for me, Josh hit the nail on the head with Raising Arizona. I think the Coen brothers are such just brilliant masters at this. Like, I'm thinking of Fargo. What I'm going to out our mom here with one of her favorite lines in all of movie history is when the strippers get interrogated and they're like, is there any defining characteristics about them? And they're like, well, they weren't circumcised, if that's what you're asking. Like, that's such a like side character that tells you a lot about Fargo. And then I think in No Country for Old Men, like just the woman who runs the trailer park. And when Anton Chigurh like goes to find the guy and she's like, I can't give out no information. And she like holds her ground. And you're like, lady, you have no idea who the hell you're talking to. But like this Southern woman who's like kind of obese and drinking out of a big gulp is like, I ain't gonna tell you nothing. And like that tells you about exactly where they are in Texas. So I think you're right, Josh, that like the Coen brothers just know.
They're amazing at it.
That is the questions I have. I loved this movie. I did too. I think everybody should go check it out. And the last thing that we have to do is rate it with our completely arbitrary, nonsensical, and hopefully wildly fun rating system here on Fermented Fiction, which is how many drinks does it take you to fully enjoy weapons or substances of your choice. We've had anything from, the old devil's lettuce to snorting straight farrow ashes. So like you can throw in some wild cards. We are open for it, but
gotta follow your heart.
Jeremy, how many drinks to enjoy weapons?
Okay, so let's just do this right now. Okay, you'll need, I guess more accurately, I'll need, because the reviews are telling a very different story from what is my lived experience. I am the villain in this story. Oh well. But you'll want one for all the missing kids. Just one for each of them. So that's a 17. You can round it up for the parents and the child that were also taken hostage, make that an even 20. But then you'll also want a drink each for the sparing and perhaps perplexing use of narration to maybe distract you from the question.
We didn't talk about that.
Who the fuck is narrating this? Who's doing this Gremlins ass narration right now? They're not even showing up.
Hey, Krager takes risks, and I love it.
She's the voice of the town. She's just telling you the story.
She is the town.
Yeah.
She's the town, guys.
She says, like, this is what happened. Nobody will talk about it, but I'll tell you because, I'm your narrator.
She says nobody's talking about it. It's literally almost all of what anybody talks about for the entire movie.
I think she means they don't talk about like
the town.
A witch getting dismembered and eaten in somebody's front yard while the sprinklers are going off or whatever.
Probably on somebody's ring cam. So like that's good.
I just now made the connection between this movie and Hex by Thomas Olde Huervold. I probably
It's an amazing book.
Such a good
Way
book.
to go.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Just made that connection. Great. Yeah. Great book. Great movie. Sorry, Jeremy. So how many drinks are you at?
Well, let's see. Right now I'm at 22. You know, have another one to distract yourself from the really half-assed covering of the windows with newspaper that lets just some creeper lurking in your backyard realize, like, hey, those people are just sitting there for days. What's that all about?
Yeah.
Really get your shit together, forest witches coming to the town to steal children. Come on. And then, you get you'll want to add one for when you wonder to yourself, why would someone shout at the door to ask who's there rather than just looking through the peephole? What are you doing?
She's scared.
You have to assume Justine is drunk at all times, though.
Drunk,
I
and
guess.
she's like,
I mean, yeah, she goes out and buys vodka. Yeah, she goes out, she buys vodka. You only do that to get drunk. It's got no flavor, everyone. Spoilers, I guess. Spoiler for anybody who hasn't had vodka, I guess.
Yeah. You're making sure that
I don't know.
She spends most of her time in the movie at the liquor store or in front of the kid's house stalking the place.
I was going to say, we're talking about
It's true.
She spends her time either at the liquor store or teaching or drinking. Those last two might
stalking an 8-year-old.
might have some crossover. She does that while drinking, Travis. She does a lot of drinking and driving in this film. Which, hey, I say don't.
But she mixes it with like a big gulp, so
Yeah, so you've also got hydration.
We don't know
It's
how
good for
long
you.
ago that there was any big gulp in there.
I don't know if
it's
there's
like-
It could be Jeremy's infinity bottle at this point.
Yeah, like if you add enough water to your juice, when does it stop being juice,
the ship of Theseus with vodka.
Ship of Theseus.
Yeah.
It's the vodka of Theseus, everyone.
The vodka of Theseus.
The vodka.
So I don't know,
Theseus.
what, like 25, 28?
That sounds right. Clay?
Whatever.
If you want to be an insane person, you can play on Jeremy mode there.
Yeah.
Or you could just drink with the characters of the film. And I think it would actually pace out pretty well to have you just feeling good around the time that they get into the epic confrontation at the end. And I think you'll be really if you're like me drinking, you'll be ready to jump and cheer for something. So I think the kids breaking out to eat the witch will be really gratifying. If you drink when Justine drinks,
Which is
and then
basically the whole time.
you don't have to
be
drink
under the table if you drink when Justine drinks.
No, not drink exactly what she drinks. You can do that on hard mode if you want, but I would recommend drinking whatever you want when she drinks, and then throw one in there for when we drink with her again from the cop's perspective. Yeah, that's what I say. Just drink with Justine, and then you'll be ready to rock and cheer for the witch's demise.
So do you drink when the lady dumps vodka on Justine in the store, or
Sure.
Yeah. She definitely got some in there and was
And
happy.
she's-
about
sure?
She's not
Just to make
wiping
she
that
wasn't
off.
laying on the floor with her mouth open trying to catch it.
Oh, wow.
Help me out here. I'm gonna go, and then Josh will end with you so that you can rate it, and then tell everybody who you are again and where to find you. But my rating, I have 2 ratings. I have a general rating for everybody, and that's gonna be, I think you should just have something strong like this whiskey, and take a sip every time you're spooked or you get goosebumps, because that's gonna be, a decent amount, like a good equal balanced amount. That's my general. Then I want to talk. Look at me. I want to talk to the dudes. Okay, this is for the dudes. Dudes,
Yeah, dude.
Archer. Whenever he says something that deep in your soul, if you're like a dude, bro, and deep in your soul, you feel like, yeah, bro. which is basically every line Archer utters. You're going to take a sip of something. You're going to take a sip of a beer or something. But yeah, that's my alternative drinking game for weapons for the dudes, is just when you feel Archer, like when he goes to his job site and his foreman guy is like, yeah, you didn't send those plans. And he's like, no, I didn't. It's like, oh yeah, you also ordered the wrong tile. And he's like, yep, I fucked that up. Those are moments that you're just gonna be like, I'm with you, Archer. I would have done the same. That's the game for the dudes, which is gonna be a lot more drinks. But
yeah, there comes a time to pay the piper as a guy, and that's just how you have to do it.
That's how you have to do it.
You have to
Josh,
just own up to it.
How would you rate it? And then if you tell everybody who you are again and where to find you, yeah.
I mean, I like this movie a lot. I don't require any substances to enjoy it. I think I'm just going to advise that choose your drink of choice, drink at your rate of choice, and just vibe on this show because it has so much great atmosphere that if you get just a little bit mellow with it, just enough, it'll just carry you through. This whole thing just has a vibe that I really loved. And the one thing that I didn't mention on that is it has a killer needle drop at the beginning of Beware of Darkness by George Harrison. Whenever they have the whole scene where all the kids are fleeing out of the house, and it's this kind of extended scene showing that, and the music is so absolutely perfect on that you just want to take your glass and whatever you're drinking and kind of raise it up to that. So drink what you like, enjoy the movie, it's rad. I'm Josh. Again, Unkillable Frank Lightning is my newest novel. It's in the same world as The Legend of Charlie Fish. Those are both weird Westerns. And then brand new, hot off the presses, Summer in the House of the Departed. It's a West Texas haunted house story. So hopefully something for everybody.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Josh. Thank you, Jeremy and Travis, for co-hosting with me, as always. I will have all Josh's information down in the bio, but you should definitely go check out his shit because it is really, really good. Thank you so much for being here, Josh. It was a lot of fun.
Thank y'all. It was so fun.
Hell yeah, man. And we will see you all on the next episode of Fermented Fiction. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Jeremy and Travis. Hold on for 1 sec afterwards if you can.
Okay.
Just for a